morning. We are three researchers from the University of Athens. This is Eva, Dimitris, and Dionysis. We will present to you Rupture, which is our framework for attacking HTTPS. And specifically, this framework is designed to be a compression side-channel attack against HTTPS. It implements a popular compression side-channel attack method called breach that we have extended significantly. This is our lab at the University of Athens. So, HTTPS is currently broken. We can actively decrypt it right now. Some history of how it broke. In Black Hat 2013, Angelo Prado, etc. Introduced breach, which was an extension of an existing attack called crime. And in breach, Angelo Prado and his colleagues attacked stream ciphers like RC4. After that attack, people upgraded to AES. So people thought that, oh, this fixes the compression side channel attack, but that's not actually true. And we will show you that even with AES, it's still broken, and we hope to also show you a demo today. And the overview of our talk is going to be a bit like that, but since the talk is a bit short, I want to ask who has seen the breach attack before, or who has heard about the breach attack before? Okay, so since several people have heard about it, we will skip the introductions and maybe go show you a little bit of what we have worked on, and specifically our contributions, and what we have done in terms of like statistical methods and our optimization techniques, and specifically how block ciphers work. Okay, so our contributions, we have extended the existing breach attack that was introduced in 2013. This is our implementation also in our open source framework. And the specific things that we do, the extensions that we do is, first we can attack noisy endpoints. That means that we are lifting basically the assumption of Prado, etc. that required that the website always returns the same response to the same requests. The second one is that they had an assumption for block cipher for stream ciphers. We are extending it to block ciphers, and then we will not show any mitigation techniques now, but you can read our paper on our website, and we will provide a link. And the third contribution is that we also have a few optimization techniques. We will show you 3 optimization techniques today. So let's go through that. So the first thing I want to talk about briefly is how exactly we deal with noise, and let's talk about what noise is first. So maybe I should go over the attack real quick. Right? We have some slides for that. All right. So what is the noise? So I will remind you real quick what the breach attack does. We have a victim that is on some network that the attacker is controlling. So the attacker has access to the network, and the victim is visiting a target website, which is using HTTPS and HSDS security. The attacker can make the victim make several requests to the target website. This is given the existing web standards and web security, and then the attacker can capture the ciphertext from the network. So this is a chosen plaintext attack of which the attacker can see the ciphertexts. And the basic assumption is that there's some sort of reflection. So the URL of the target website contains some parameter that is reflected in the HTML body, let's say, and this is all properly escaped, and everything is done correctly by the implementer. So what the noise is the rest of the portions of the website. So not the reflection, not the secrets that we're targeting to decrypt from HTTPS, but anything else. And that anything else can be changing from request to request. And since we're doing a chosen ciphertext attack, that means that we will do several requests, and it's convenient if everything else doesn't change except for the portions that we choose to. But noise makes this difficult. So this is the response part that changes per request. And here's some examples of noise. If there's any timestamps in the responses, that's going to be some portion of the noise. If there's some randomness or some random tokens, it's going to be a portion of the noise. If we're attacking, let's say, Twitter, then they have some suggestions of people to follow. They change per request. So that's the kind of thing that makes the attack difficult. And we also have some small details like Huffman header encoding, which is specific to compression. We don't have to go into that today. In some HTTP headers also, like the connection can be close or keep alive. This makes some difference in what we're doing. And also the content encoding, which can introduce some chunking. So these are some of the problems. And the way we deal with this is quite simple, really. What we do is we do some repeated attacks. We repeat them a specific number of times. Today we'll go and show like 16 or 64. 64, okay. So we do some repetitions of the experiment, and we basically extract the mean. If you recall breach, the basic idea is that we only extract the length of the ciphertext, and this is what makes it difficult in the case of noise. So noise changes the length in a way, but it's a predictable way. So if we extract the statistical mean, we only have to do, well, square root of n times the requests that were needed in the original breach attack without noise, if we have an n-size noise portion. And eventually the length that we measure on the network will converge to the correct length after we take repetitive means. Okay?
Okay, so how do we do it for both ciphers? Instead of just doing one request per candidate, we do 16 requests, and in each one of these we add some padding. The padding will result in sometimes the block being aligned or not. So we add some artificial noise. This is some random symbols that that are shown in the reflection value, and this will result in sometimes that we cross the block boundaries, and sometimes we don't. And by this way, we can tell if we have the correct symbol or not. And here's an example. Let's say that we already know prefix secret, and we want to see what's the next correct letter. And we test if it's T, U, or V. As you can see, we also have some padding. It's XY. But with this padding, the first one compresses to 15 and the other to 16. But because we reduce the AS, these are rounded up to 16. But if you see that if we put the correct padding, which is XYZ, then the correct answer will be compressed to 16 bytes, but the wrong ones will create one new block. So we'll see, and although it's just 1 byte, because of the block ciphering, we'll see 16 bytes. So we can tell which is the right one and which is not.
Okay, so let's see how our request towards the attacking pointer structure. Well, first of all, we have the target endpoint. In this case, it's a lab endpoint in the Dionysis site, and it's just a PHP which contains some text, and it reflects a parameter that we pass as a get argument. And this parameter is called ref. The value of this parameter is structured as is this one, and it's structured as follows. The first part is a known secret. Now, this is necessary in order to bootstrap the attack, so we need to know some characters of the secret. It doesn't matter if they are at the start or the end or the middle, but we have to know at least two known characters of the secret. After that, we concatenate it with the testing character, in which case it is A. So in this iteration of the attack, we try the letter A to see if it is correct. And in order to bypass Huffman noise, as Dionysis said before, we have to add a Huffman pool. So what this does is it balances the effects of the Huffman encoding. After that, we have the local line and alphabet that Eva mentioned. And in this case, you can see that for different requests, we add another character in the block alignment alphabet. So for each of these requests, it is possible that if A is the correct character, a block will differ compared to the other characters that we'll test. The other characters are the characters in the Huffman pool. And finally, we add an anti-caching parameter, which is actually a dummy parameter, and what this allows us to do is try the same reflection multiple times per iteration without the browser caching the request, so we will see the packets over the network. Okay, so let's see some of the optimizations that we have developed. And the first one is the divide and conquer technique. Up to this point, what we did was, if we have an alphabet, let's say of digits, we try each one of these candidates separately, first 0, then 1, 2, etc. And we'll see which one presents the block differentiation, and then we assume that this one is the correct one. But it doesn't need to be like that. In this case, what we do is split the alphabet into portions that should contain the same amount of candidates, and we try each one like that. So we assume that the part of the alphabet that contains the correct character will result in a length difference over the network. So if we measure, for example, that the first part of the alphabet is results in smaller blocks over the network, we assume that the first part contains the correct character. And we go that way down to the tree until we find the leaf, which in this case is 3, and we assume that this one is the correct character.
Okay, so what the request soup is a technique that we developed, and it's quite simple. As I said before, because of block alignment, we have to do 16 requests per candidate. And that's why we need this optimization. These 16 samples are not adapted based on each other, so we can do multiple requests all together. So the attacker can say to the victim, okay, this is the candidate I want you to try. This is the alphabet for block alignment padding, and let's say that run it 10 times. So we want to perform 160 requests, and we really don't care about the responses. They don't come pipeline. They may come out of order, but we don't care because what we want to take is the mean length. So we perform all we tell the client to run all these requests together, and the browser has specific behavior for that. And after that, we take the whole length and we divide it by the total, the amount of the requests that we made. So and we get the length that we wanted to. But if we do this soup thing without considering the parallelization the browser prepared give us, it's pipelined. So it's one request after another. But we can notice that browser allows a 6 parallel requests per time. So here's a graph that shows that one time we have 6 requests, and next time we have 6 more requests, and so on. And we really don't need to differentiate between one another. We run all of these together, and in the end we divide by the amount of the requests that we did. And that's why we call it soup, because it's all the requests together, all responses together, and we extract them by dividing by the amount of the requests.
Okay, so our framework is called Rupture. We have open sourced it. This is the website where you can read about it and download it. It's also where our white paper exists, which has an extensive description of this attack and how it works. Our source code is on GitHub. It's MIT licensed. So you can go there and fork it, make some pull requests. We have many open issues and many bugs and any features that we want to introduce. Especially this summer, we're working on making the attack extract like the whole response, not just chosen secrets. This is the backtracking. We're making work against IPv6. What else? We are introducing a very easy-to-use UI, web UI, to control this attack. Because right now the configuration is all on CLI. And yeah, we're adding support for Speedy because this also works. But this only works against HTTPS, but not Speedy. So if you want to help with any of these, we will be doing them until this September. So you're welcome to join us. Okay, so I want to tell you a few things about Rupture because it's a useful tool for security researchers like all of you. It's not only useful for compression side channel attacks, but also for other attacks against TLS. It's a modular attack framework. It's quite extensible, well, it has several components. The way it works is that first, given control to the victim's network, it injects JavaScript into all simple HTTP connections that are unauthenticated, and this JavaScript opens up a control channel to the attacker, to the adversary, that remains open from all tabs of the victim and speaks a command and control protocol. And all these tabs remain dormant until the attacker chooses to wake something up and ask for work to be done. In our case, work is to make requests to the HTTPS website. Due to same origin policy, we cannot read them from these infected tabs, so we have to tag the network. But you can imagine that this can be used as a framework to mount different sorts of attacks. It's also quite robust, so if the user closes a tab, a different tab will wake up. So this is all detected. If the victim reboots their machine and opens it up again, the attack is going to resume from where it left off. And also we have a server-client architecture that allows for persistent storage of the data that was collected for future analysis if new algorithms are developed. So now Ivan and Dimitris are going to show you a short demo of Rupture and how it works against HTTPS.
Okay. First of all, we need to set up the environment.
Okay, here we set up the environment, and we are going to configure the target and the victim. Here are the targets that are created. They're all 11 points. And here are the victims which have the target, and we'll choose which one we want to.
Yeah, in this the victims should also have the IP of the victim's computer. In this case, it's my computer because I'm not it myself. But you need to know the victim's IP in order to attack it. So it's all set, and we'll just launch each module separately in order to be more specific what we do. But you can also run all the framework at once. So. And for the sniffer, we need elevated privileges because it accesses the WLAN interface of my computer.
So here, package is deployed, and we created a new round. We know that the non-prefix is given. We have the known alphabet, these are the candidates, and the alignment alphabet. And it starts sniffing the network, and as we can see the length and how many TLS records have been passed.
Okay, so yeah, let's open the browser and see what this site actually does. So we're attacking the same point. So yeah. Okay, the site we're attacking actually has just text, etc. And what we want to do is extract some part of this text without knowing what it contains. You can see here it is HTTPS, so it's supposed to be secure. Okay. So consider if we didn't know anything about this endpoint, we would start hacking, and the victim needs to open the client. And the client is this one. And you can see here that when opening the client,
This would be the injected file that if we're in the network and we have the victim, we would inject the JavaScript code. Here it's just an HTML with a plain code.
And okay, so here the backend will start listening to the requests. Actually, the client will send the work request to real time. Real time will connect to the backend is responsible for manipulating the attack, and it will start issuing the requests. And here we see the different letters and the length that we capture over the length is captured by the sleeper module. So we iterate over the alphabet of the English letters. And when it, sometimes we might catch some errors because either the client disconnects or the network is kind of slow. So in this case, we have to catch these errors and manipulate them accordingly. And if there is an error for a candidate, we reissue the attack for this candidate. So in this case, you see that after finishing the alphabet, we start again from those that were not successful captures. And when each candidate has a successful capture, and we have a length to compare with the rest of the alphabet, we'll see that, okay.
Yes, here we are. The first letter is D, and it's length shorter than the others. So we have a decision that D is the right one. With some confidence, it's quite good. But you can see that there are other letters that also have shorter length than the rest of them. This could be because they could match to some other content of the text. But here we have D, which is the winner.
Yeah, also, in this case, you see a practical example of noise, because, for example, T may have a challenge like that because noise was optimal for T compared to the rest of the alphabet. But we assume that in any case, D is, in this case, we assume that is the correct one, should result to the minimum length. So, what do we see here? We knew the part of the secret was these 5 letters we bent, and we assume that the following one is D. Let's see if we were correct. Okay, so you see here that the attack continues, and this is the whole text. We knew this, okay? And we see that the following letter is indeed D. So we have extracted a part of the base that is supposed to be secured, and we have done this with pretty good confidence. And if confidence is about 1, the framework assumes that this is indeed the correct one, and it uses this in order to decrypt the rest of the page. Yeah, and the attack continues. Okay, this is a
No, I think we have questions.
Oh yeah. Do you have any questions about the execution?
So do you need the user to stay on the same page forever while the attack's happening, or can you move around?
No, we just need any HTTP page. Say that you're in CNN with HTTP. If you close it, the attacker waits for another HTTP connection, and when you have another HTTP connection, the attack follows from where it was stopped.
We have implemented an injection technique in order to inject the JavaScript code that is the client module of the framework that communicates with your client. So anytime you open an HTTP connection, we inject the JavaScript code in there and we resume the attack. Or if you visit an endpoint that we control, we have it in there and we continue the attack. Any other questions? Yeah.
Have you thought about connecting it with BIF, which does pretty much the same, on the injection part of the JavaScript? So to use the BIF framework in order to inject and then use the injection part of BIF in order to continue your attack.
So what we used an existing framework called BetterCam for the injection portion. So Rupture's injection module is basically a specific deployment of BetterCap. So I don't see why we should use something else. But yeah, we have not, of course, we have not developed our own injection framework. It's something open source that we use, and that's not where we go most of the code. Yeah.
So on the AES attack, have you related that to some of the other AES attacks that have been described in the past couple of years? I'm thinking of the CBC attack by Alan Carlson.
So the specific attack is not it's not specific to AES's features. So we don't manipulate the inner workings of AES to do the attack. It's a side channel attack, and it would work against really any symmetric cipher. The reason why we are showing it against AES is because AES happens to be the most popular cipher, but we're not leveraging any features of AES specifically. If you can do some of the attacks that you mentioned that are cryptographic in nature, you can certainly combine it with our side channel attack.
Although we do work towards implementing other compression based attacks like crime, which is mitigated but is useful for educational purposes. So we will release some implementations for crime or other compression side channel attacks that work similarly to breach. Any other questions?
Okay, and because some people did not know how exactly breach works, I assume it was really hard for you to follow because we showed new features only. Please go to our website. We have an easy description on the paper. The introduction of the paper is pretty detailed, and you can understand how it works. So here we propose some future work. As Dimitris mentioned, during the summer we will work on issuing kind of a release of a framework that enables users to attack endpoints easily and with more confidence. Our aim is to attack popular sites like Gmail or Facebook, which have some known vulnerabilities, but we haven't up to this point managed to leverage these vulnerabilities. And our aim is to create a framework that has a UI that is friendly towards the user. It is able to run against most protocols that are used today, like IPv6 or LXPD, as Dionysis mentioned. And in order to do this, we need some help. We have many bugs, and we need to use the community's suggestions in order to enhance the framework. So, if you have some suggestions, if you are interested in this, please follow us on GitHub, ask some questions, and offer some advice if you have any. And what you should take away from this presentation is actually pretty simple. HTTPS is broken. We should not consider HTTPS sites safe because we can do this at this point at some extent. We assume that people smarter than us can or may have already done this better. So HTTPS, when composition with compression is vulnerable, we should address this issue, and the rapture actually allows people to attack HTTPS and our applications that use it. Okay, so thank you very much. If there are more questions in the audience.
You said HTTPS broken. The slide said HTTPS, but you said it's broken.
Yeah.
I think that's probably more accurate.
Yeah. So this is correct.
Yeah. Isn't it true that TLS 103 has dropped?
No. So this is incorrect because what they drop is the compression in the TLS headers. But what we're attacking here is the compression inside the payload of TLS, and this is not fixed in TLS 103.
Really? Oh well.
Yeah. So this is what this is that all your websites use gzip to compress their contents, and this is encapsulated by TLS. So if you look at Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, all these use gzip to speed up their connections, right? But it doesn't have to do with TLS level.
Okay, I thought level 3 had exclusively that, but I'm probably wrong there. Wow.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
really
fine.
good question, actually.
Yeah, wow.
All right, we'll be here all day, so yeah, take it away. Thank you.